Hello, I'm Thiago, and as I mentioned in the previous video, I made this sequel with 4 more with Brazilian customs. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, click on the video in the card or the link in the description. Now, let's go to part 2. Foreigners often joke that Brazilians have difficulty saying no. In fact, it is common for Brazilians to use other words and milder expressions to refuse a request or invitation, such as maybe and depends, instead of simply saying no. This behavior can be explained by various cultural and social factors. Firstly, Brazilian culture values cordiality and respect for interpersonal relationships. Saying no directly can be seen as rude and disrespectful, especially in a culture that values kindness and gentleness so much. Another factor that contributes to this behavior is the lack of a clear and objective negotiation culture in the country. In Brazil, agreements are often closed informally and people try to find solutions that please everyone involved instead of imposing an unilateral decision. In this context, it is common to use milder and more flexible expressions to negotiate a situation. In addition, the fear of disappointing others can also influence Brazilians' behavior in relation to saying no. Many people fear that a negative response may harm their relationship with the other person and therefore prefer to use softer words to avoid confrontations. This difficulty in saying no can bring some problems, especially in situations where it is necessary to be assertive and set clear boundaries. The lack of direct no can generate unnecessary expectations and frustrations, and even compromise the individual's credibility. Let's schedule something. In Brazil, plans are made to be broken. Many foreigners who visit Brazil or have contact with Brazilians observe a curious behavior regarding scheduling appointments. For them, it seems that Brazilians have the habit of scheduling meetings and events, even knowing that they will not be able to attend or that there is a high chance that they will not happen. This behavior can be explained by various cultural and social factors. Firstly, Brazilian culture is very flexible and adaptable. People often easily adapt to change and unlikely situations, which can cause original plans to be altered or cancelled. In addition, the culture of the jeitinho brasileiro can also influence this behavior. Often, people make promises or schedule appointments without being sure that they can keep them, with the intention of pleasing and avoiding conflicts. In many cases, the jeitinho brasileiro culture is seen as a quick and creative solution to solve problems, but it can end up becoming a harmful habit regarding commitments and responsibilities. Another factor that can influence this behavior is the difficulty in saying no directly. As mentioned earlier, instead of refusing an invitation or commitment, many people prefer to schedule and then cancel or change plans, thus avoiding confrontation or disagreement. There is also the custom of when two old friends or distant relatives meet suddenly by chance somewhere. They greet each other, briefly talk about something, and then say goodbye. Let's make plans later, or I'll show up at your house someday. But this is just talking for the sake of talking. There is actually no intention of making a real commitment. However, it is important to note that this behavior can generate frustration and mistrust in other people, especially for foreigners who are not used to this culture. Clear and objective communication is essential in relation to commitments, thus avoiding misunderstandings and disappointments. And if you want to understand and speak Brazilian Portuguese, I invite you to read the pinned comment that I left for you to get in touch with me, as I'm launching a Portuguese course for foreigners and I also give Brazilian Portuguese conversation classes for foreigners. I look forward to hearing from you. Watching your belongings like a hawk. Unfortunately, it is common for Brazilians to watch their belongings in public like a hawk to prevent them from being stolen. The reality is that in many Brazilian cities, the crime rate is high and many malicious people are looking to steal valuable items. This behavior of always being attentive and careful with one's belongings in public is, therefore, a matter of survival. Purses, wallets, cell phones, and other personal items are constantly targeted by thieves, especially in busy places such as subway stations, buses, street markets, among others. Moreover, thefts are often carried out in a sneaky and discreet way, without the victim realizing it. Therefore, it is important to always be vigilant, observing one's belongings and avoiding unnecessary distractions. This reality may be frightening for those who are not used to Brazilian culture, but it is important to emphasize that Brazilians are well aware of the need to take care of their belongings in public, and are quite skilled in doing so. Many Brazilians have specific techniques to protect themselves, such as keeping their purse in front of their body, storing their phone in an inner pocket, or avoiding opening their wallet in public. Although it is an unpleasant and stressful practice, the constant care for one's belongings in public is a form of survival for Brazilians. It is important to note that despite this problem, Brazil is an incredible country full of culture and natural beauty, and Brazilians are extremely welcoming and friendly. Toilet paper in the trash can. A common custom in Brazil that may seem strange to some foreigners is to leave a basket inside the bathroom to put used toilet paper in. This happens because in many parts of the country, the basic sanitation systems are not as advanced as in other parts of the world, which means that pipes can easily become clogged. In these situations, throwing used toilet paper directly into the toilet can cause serious problems, such as clogs, leaks, and bad odors. To avoid this inconvenience, many Brazilian homes and establishments choose to leave a basket in the bathroom where users can throw away used toilet paper instead of disposing of it directly in the toilet. Although this custom may seem strange to some people, it is a way of taking care and showing respect for the infrastructure of the place. Moreover, in many parts of the world, especially in countries with more advanced basic sanitation systems, disposing of toilet paper directly in the toilet is a common and expected practice. Therefore, it is important for foreigners to be aware of this custom in Brazil, and even though it may seem strange at first glance, the practice of throwing used toilet paper in a basket is a way to preserve the infrastructure and prevent future problems. Now, if you unintentionally offended any Brazilian by using a word incorrectly because you didn't know its meaning, I will teach you some Portuguese words so you can manage to converse with Brazilians. Just click here. Thank you.